Brooklyn Attic Books here. So today's review is actually a half review because I have been making my way through the uncut version of The Stand by Stephen King. Finally, I have made it to the motherland of King books. Coming in at his biggest, thickest book, we have 1,150 pages. Okay, so I am at halfway point. I just completed chapter 47. Really, what I wanted to do was read The Stand and read Swan Song and compare the two. Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Everybody says that the two are so similar, and your favorite really just comes down to which one you read first. When you were younger and more impressionable, of course. As I read the Swan Song last month in December, and I'll link the video below, but I did not enjoy it as much as I have The Stand. So let me compare the two. Kind of dug into McCammon for not really tying up loose ends and having weird things that didn't make sense in his book. And then I realized that The Stand kind of has a couple weird things about it too, right? So there's small flaws. And small flaws are the things that make the story like more unrealistic for the reader, right? Not catching them, just catching the flaws that you could have, as an author, easily fixed, right? So at one point, they're talking about the deer population in the book and saying that it's going to run rampant because there's no more hunters. There's a lot less humans, so there's a lot less hunters. But they're not talking about the fact that ecology has a way of making the natural predator stronger when there's an influx or a growth in the minor groups, right? And their predators, the human hunters, are now gone, so they're not being hunted at the same amount that they were prior. So that's just one thing I thought it was kind of a weird thing. Really what it comes down to is that the two books are very, very, very similar. Like, super similar. The post-apocalyptic world happens is two very different ways, right? And Swan Song, it's an atomic fallout. Everybody shoots off their rockets at the same time, sending the world into atomic fallout. In The Stand, it's a plague type of virus called Captain Trips, right? And so when we had COVID-19 pop up back in 2020, a lot of people went crazy reading The Stand because they were like, whoa, it's happening. But it didn't happen at that level, right? Okay. So the two books are very like good versus evil. And there is like an army of good and an army of evil in both of them. Like in both. So it really just comes down to the two sides fighting it out. And I'll give you one guess who wins in both books. You don't have to be a genius to know, right? Both books have so many characters, but The Stand, that's only like, well, it's only 175 pages longer than Swan Song. But The Stand still is introducing characters at the middle mark of the book, which is blowing my mind because King spends so much time describing characters and their backgrounds, and then a little bit after that he just kind of kills them off and then they're forgotten, right? And then they just kind of move on, which kind of makes it kind of, in a sense, it makes it more realistic because in reality that's kind of what would happen, right? You would meet the remaining survivors. So by the middle of the book, we're not even introduced to people like as a single person, one by one. We're introduced to groups of new people joining the already MCs that we know. Something that I do like more about The Stand than I did about Swan Song is that it's less militaristic. Whereas Swan Song had a couple of the main characters really like military mind, and one of them, I I think it was Colonel Macklin. He was a like decorated war hero from Vietnam, and he kept getting like PTSD flashbacks. And like I don't know, that kind of storyline doesn't really, like, I don't know, it just doesn't attract me. Where I feel like maybe it's more of like people who are into military stuff, they would have probably enjoyed Swan Song a little bit more, because The Stand is not like that at all. Like, and then people are like, well, the Stand is kind of militaristic. It's not, guys. It's really not. And I actually like it better this way. And we have a lot less survivors than in Swan Song. So even though there's a lot less survivors, it seems like there's still people killing each other off for no freaking reason. Like, I don't even understand. Wow. It's not like the goods and resources have been destroyed by bombs, like in Swan Song, and making things restricted. It really is like everybody just died off within 2 weeks of like getting this crazy flu. And in the book they describe it as, we learn that even though it's less militaristic and there's a whole lot less people, the bad group of people are still taking women as hostages and as sex slaves. And that's something that happens in Swan Song as well. But in that, it's kind of like, yeah, I would say there's sex slaves there too. Yeah. They kind of like call it a caravan as they're moving like that, because it's more of like an army. This is what I'm saying. It's different. Like, the stories themselves are different, but there's so many similarities. It's hard to believe that McCammon wasn't influenced by The Stand when he was writing Swan Song. Both stories are epic journeys to a cornfield. I don't know why, or they're coming, but I don't know. These cornfields are like dreamlike destinations, or I don't even know what, but I kid you not, both books talk about cornfields and like fighting evil in a cornfield or something. It's weird, and for no reason at all other than for the sake of the book. I guess in Swan Song, it makes sense that people would move around because they're A, looking for resources, and B, they're looking to get away from like the epicenters of where the bombs hit, right? So in The Stand, they are just on the move for like no reason, which is weird because you, not to bring up like a weird like comedy TV show, but in The Last Man on Earth, which is a comedy sitcom, right, about like everybody just magically disappearing, he too and other survivors have the same idea, is, well, you know, go to like where the mansions are in those neighborhoods, and that's it, you know, kind of like that's your new home now. That's where you want to live, so that's where you can live. Hear me out. An observation that I made is that I feel like these type of like epic journey, post-apocalyptic stories, right? And there's quite a few at this point now, not just Swan Song and The Stand. Another one I can think of easily, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I mean, that book was great. I read that years ago. I read that probably like 15 years ago now, 15, 20 years ago easily. But King seems to be the first to do it. Like, he seems to be the first to do this epic journey. Everybody's kind of dead. We got to survive on the road type of deal, right? And so this was written back in 78. Fast forward to today, and now we have movies and TV shows and spin-offs of that, right? The Walking Dead and all that stuff. And so even in The Stand, King has a couple of his characters in close proximity to corpses, and they even say like they're kind of like bugged out and waiting for the corpse to just grab them. So like kind of like how zombies, but it's I don't think it's a zombie book. Like, I honestly went into this blind, other than the fact that everybody said that McCammon did it better. No, King did it better. There's this big argument. So far, King did do it better. I'm just saying. And a lot of people also recommended that I don't read the uncut version because it's like 300 pages longer than the original that came out in 78. But honestly, like it's not bad. I don't mind reading big books. I just need to find the time to read them, right? And when personal stuff pops up, it pops up. You can't help that. All right, guys. So next week, I hope to be done with this book, and then I'll do a full comparison of the two. I'll see you guys next week.